Welcome back to Eagle Classics. Donnie Folk is the most successful head coach in Bridgewater softball history, winning 598 career games and reaching 2 NCAA regional finals, and the Eagles softball field now bears his name. Bridgewater's final win over a nationally ranked opponent with Folk came in 2014 on what was later named Folk Field. In a thriller versus Christopher Newport University, the Eagles needed a late comeback and a walk-off home run to seal it. Brianna Cox was on the mound for the Eagles and went the distance, striking out 6.
Shiflett steps to the plate for CNU in game number 1. Cox looks around, trying to find her signal. Eagles with a little bit of a defensive switch in the infield. We'll get to that a little bit later in the inning. Cox first pitch, outside part of the plate, called strike. That runs the count to 0-1.
CNU, year in, year out, has one of the best programs in the nation. So anytime we got a chance to play them, we certainly wanted to put them on the schedule, because if you're gonna be a good ball club, you need to play the best. And they were as good as anybody in the state of Virginia. So had a good relationship with Coach Parr. I worked a lot of his camps, and we got along real well. So it was always great to see him play his teams. They would always play really well against us, and I think we did the same against them. It was a good rivalry.
And that runs the count to 1-2. And a little bit of a busy day here at Bridgewater College. The baseball team, they're in action over at the field adjacent to us. That's a 4 o'clock start time against Mary Washington in a non-conference contest for the Eagles. The 1-2 from Cox. Outside, trying to get Shiflett chasing. That evens the count 2-2. Of course, Bridgewater, they are coming off of a split on Tuesday up at Shenandoah. And a busy part of the year for the Eagles. 2-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. That will retire Shiflett. 1 away for the Captains. That brings to the plate number 4, the shortstop, Candace Zollers. Zollers steps to the plate. Hitting .414 on the year. She's a leading hitter for the Captains. First pitch from Cox. Grounded up the middle, base hit. Single for Zoller, gets a one-out base runner to the Captains here in the first. And that brings it to plate number 9, the right fielder, Christina McLaughlin. Cox. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3 will retire Holzbach. Put 2 away for the Captains on a pair of strikeouts. That brings it to plate number 25, the first baseman, Sabrina Hill. Earlier in the inning, the play against Cox is going to go down as an illegal pitch. Not a balk, as I said earlier. I've been watching too much baseball lately. Hill, one of the leading hitters for the Captains, leads CNU with 33 hits on the year. Pitch inside to Hill, called strike. As Hill laid off, she took a semi-check swing there and laid off, and that brings the count to 0-1. Runner still at first and second for CNU. Hill also has 8 home runs on the year and 22 RBI, so if you're Coach Folk, you may try to stay away from Hill a little bit, and that might have been the reasoning for the inside pitch. The 0-1 outside, trying to get Hill to chase, she lays off, and that evens the count 1-1. Overcast day, about 60 degrees here in Bridgewater. Not a lot of clouds in the sky. Haven't seen the sun much today, but hopefully the rain can hold off here for another couple of hours and allow us to get both halves of this doubleheader in. The baseball game adjacent to us. The 1-1 grounded back to Fridley over to third base. In time, Balcom for the force. That will retire McLaughlin, and then retires a side for CNU. Retires Zoller 6-5 on the putout. For the Captains in the first, they get no runs off, 1 hit, no errors. They leave 2 on base. After half an inning of play, there is no score. Bridgewater and CNU. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. The 1-2. High fly ball left field. Should it get down, it should be extra bases. It is. Fridley rounding first, heading into second. She'll be in there standing up. It's a stand-up double with 2 away to left field, down the left field line for Samantha Fridley. Gives the Eagles a runner in scoring position with 2 away, and that brings it to plate number 16, the pitcher, Brianna Cox. And the Eagles off of a split on Tuesday up at Shenandoah. They defeated the Hornets 7-1 in the opener and then fell in the nightcap 5-1. Like we said earlier, the Captains ranked 15th in the nation. Grounder back foul into the dugout. Coach Parr backhands that with the left and tosses it back casually to the catcher. Coming at you pretty hard there, and he just He's probably seen a lot of them in his day. Just reach it over there with the left hand and just kind of backhand it and toss it right back in. Lewis looks in, her long look, the 1-2 pitch. Cox, humpback liner to the second baseman. She's underneath it, makes the play for the final out of the first. For Bridgewater, no runs off, 1 hit, no errors. They leave 1 on base. After 1 complete, there's no score. Bridgewater and CNU. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College softball action on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. And we welcome you back to Bridgewater College. Due up for the captains in a second will be the 6, 7, 8 hitters, Lewis, Clark, and Pope. Pitch to Lewis. Going to miss outside for a ball. That brings the count to 1-0 to the CNU catcher. On the here, Kelsey, 313 hitter, 10 hits, 1 double, and a pair of home runs. The 1-0. Missed upstairs and a little outside for a ball. And that brings the count to 2-0 to Lewis. As a squad, CNU hitting 345 on the year. That's just 4 points higher than Bridgewater. So 2 good hitting teams here today. CNU has the best pitchers. The 2-0. Catches the outside part of the plate for a strike. And that brings the count to 2-1. Of course, looking over the ERA, and Bridgewater with a lower ERA than CNU, 2.02. Captains came with a 2.18. So could be, at least mathematically and statistically, could be a good duel today. The 2-1. Outside. That'll miss for a ball. And that brings the count to 3-1. These 2 teams typically lock up in outstanding doubleheaders each season. They've played, I think, each of my 5 years here at Bridgewater, and they've always locked up in a number of classic duels. 3-1. Inside's going to Walker. Leadoff walk surrendered by Cox. Those always come back to haunt you, and that brings it to the plate for the captains, number 17, the second baseman, Torrey Clark. Clark, of course, recorded the final out on the bottom part of the first 4 of the Eagles. And on the year, she's hitting 364. She's the 5th best hitter on the squad for the Captains. 28 hits, 5 doubles, and 12 RBI. Cox, pitch in there. That'll miss for a ball. Works the count to 1-0. On the base paths, Lewis. Not really a threat to run. She doesn't have any stolen base attempts on the year. Cox picks up the sign, her 1-0 pitch. A little bit upstairs and outside. That'll miss for a ball. Runs the count to 2-0. If you're Bree, you do not want to surrender back-to-back walks to open. And that's going to, that would quickly force Coach Parr into a bunting situation and play a little small ball and have a chance to get 2 runs on the board here in a second. Cox. 2-0 delivery. Grounded back. Balcom backhands it back at shortstop. It's going to be an infield single for Clark. It was a tough play for Fridley to try and make out at shortstop. It's going to be an infield single for Clark, and Lewis heads over to second base, and that brings to the plate number 12, the third baseman, Alexis Pope. That was Balcom dove for it and couldn't get to it, and then Fridley was in there to try and backhand and probably couldn't get a good read on it. So he's going to give an infield single and a pair of base runners here for the captains in the second. And Pope steps to the plate. Pitch on the way to Alexis. Upstairs, going to miss for a ball. That brings the count to 1-0. On the season, Pope hitting .325 with 26 hits, 5 doubles, and 14 runs driven in. Cox has to work her way out of a jam here in a second. The 1-0. High fly ball left field. Left fielder's in. She's underneath it. Makes the catch. That will retire Pope. Put 1 away for the captains in the second. That's the pitch that Cox definitely needed to make to get the out. And that brings it to plate number 5, the center fielder, Megan Jones. Jones steps to the plate. She's a .337 hitter on the season. Cox, pitch on the way to Jones. Showed bunt, gets back. Bird comes up out of the crouch. Comes up out of the crouch there to push the runners back to first and second. Said Lewis at second base and Clark at first. His history guy, I kind of like saying that myself, I won't lie. The 0-1 pitch. Line back to Anderson. She steps on second base, throws to first. Not in time. Schiffel's going to run it down. It's going to be a fielder's choice and then an error allowing the runner to advance and run home. So it's a fielder's choice for Jones. Clark is out 4 unassisted. Lewis advances, and then she's going to advance home on an error on the third baseman. Put the Captains up 1-0. Now batting number 24, the left fielder, Rachel Shiflett. Of course, Jones ends up on second base on the play. Pitch. Finds a mark for a strike. That brings the count to 0-1. Cox. Her 0-1. Bunt shown, fouls it away. That brings the count to 0-2. Cox trying to get herself out of the second inning with as little damage as possible. The 0-2 pitch. Outside, fouled away. Shiflett just got a tip of the bat on that one. Keeps herself alive in the count 0-2. Shiflett, of course, on the day, she is 0 for 1. She struck out swinging during her only plate appearance back in the first inning. Tim Leister, BridgewaterEagles.com, bringing you the action this afternoon in a non-conference twin bill against CNU at the BC softball field. Cox. The 0-2. Swing and a miss, and then it's going to be a wild pitch that allows Shiflett to reach. So it's going to be a strikeout swinging, and then she's going to advance on a wild pitch. Jones goes to third in the wild pitch, so keep the Captains alive here in a second, and that brings it to plate number 4, the shortstop, Candace Zollers. Wild pitch. Cox, the pitch skipped in there, and Shiflett chased, but Bird couldn't get a handle on it. Pitch on the way to Zollers, fouled off into the netting. That works the count to 0-1, so Cox, believe these outs this inning will go down as unearned. We'll have to remap it here in a second. Just the 1 run on the board. Bree, long look, rolls the ball on the right-hander, 0-1 pitch on the way. Inside, that'll miss for a ball. Evens the count 1-1. Bree. She looks. Her 1-1 on the way. Skips in there. Good block this time by Bird. Keeps it in front, but brings the count to 2-1. Cox. She looks in again and rolls the ball on the right. Approves 2-1 pitch. Grounded back to Shiflett. Stumbles over and then tags the runner heading into first base for the final out of the second inning. For the Captains, in the second, they get 1 run off, 1 hit, 1 error. They leave 2 on base. After 1.5, CNU leads Bridgewater 1-0. We'll be right back watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com. Cox, her 2-0 pitch. Finds a mark for a strike a little bit low, and that brings the count to 2-1. As we said earlier in the broadcast, Bridgewater 13-6-1 on the year. They most recently split with Shenandoah. Then over the weekend, on Monday, they split at Roanoke, and then they had a tie last week with Eastern Mennonite after winning the opener by a 7-3 score. That 2-1 pitch is going to miss for a ball as well. Brings the count to 3-1, and Cox cannot walk another leadoff batter here. She's got to at some point figure out that these are going to prove costly. The 3-1. Inside. Called strike. Works the count full to McLaughlin. 3-2. I've never seen an official stat on it, but leadoff walks score, I would guess 80 to 85% of the time. The payoff pitch. Jammed her inside. Balcom up with it. Throw to first. Not in time. Infield single for McLaughlin. She footed that one out in the infield and give a leadoff base runner to the captains here in the third, and that brings to plate number 44, the designated player, Carly Holzbach. Holzbach steps to the plate. She's 0 for 1 on the day. She struck out swinging back in the first inning. Cox with another runner to worry about. The captain's 3 hits through 2 official innings of play. Pitch on the way to Holzbach. Grounded back to Balcom. She fields it on the roll. Over to first base in time. Good stretch there by Shiflett to retire Holzbach. McLaughlin heads over to second on the ground out. And that brings her to plate number 25, the first baseman, Sabrina Hill. Hill's 0 for 1 on the day. She grounded out with a fielder's choice to end the first. Another run. With a runner in scoring position here in the third, I'm sure Coach Parr is looking for Hill to get her team leading 23rd RBI in the year. Pitch on the way. Foul back. I think off the home plate umpire, going to give him a chance to go out there and maybe wipe this one off a little bit. It's got fouled off of his mask. I think he's going to be okay. Just has to shake it off a little bit, and he'll head back behind the crouch behind the plate, and he's going to be all right. They'll send the runner back to second base. And it's an 0-1 count against Hill. You look out there into left field, you see the brand new indoor hitting facility here at Bridgewater. It really accommodates a number of teams, the men's and women's golf teams, as well as the Bridgewater baseball and softball teams. The 0-1 pitch. Upstairs. That'll miss for a ball. Brings the count to 1-1 to Hill. Cox looks in for the sign from Bird. And the 1-1. Swing and a miss. Strike 2. Actually, she fouled that one off a little bit, actually. Brings the count to 1-2. Runner at second base is still McLaughlin. 1 away. Top of the third inning. CNU leads Bridgewater 1-0. Tim Leister, BridgewaterEagles.com, bringing the action from the BC softball field. The 0-1 misses inside for a ball. Brings the count even 1-1. The 1-1. High fly ball left center field. Back to the track. That's going to be at least a double and an RBI double for Lewis. And it's an RBI double for Lewis to left center field to scoring McLaughlin. And that builds a 2-0 CNU lead here in the third. And that brings it to plate number 17, a second baseman, Tori Clark. Cox, pitch on the way to Clark. Misses outside for a ball, and that brings the count to 1-0. Clark in the ball game. She's 1 for 1. She had a single back in the second. Cox, look in. Lewis still at second base off the RBI double. The 1-0 pitch. Foul back into the backstop. Runs the count to 1-1. Cox. Her long look. The 1-1 pitch. Line shot back to Shiflett. She fields it on the line for the final out, retiring Clark and retiring inside for the captains in the third.
Early on, coaching in the ODAC, I don't think got the respect that we should have nationwide. We were trying to schedule teams out of conference and get our name out there, but it was kind of tough. with budgets the way they were, and a lot of teams in the ODAC. Basically, you won the ODAC tournament, you went to the NCAAs, and we never got any bids outside of that. That changed early, in 2007 when we got an at-large bid, and then from there on out, the ODAC has really come forward, and not only does the tournament team go to the NCAAs, but we're now getting, I think last year we had 3 other bids, and the year before that maybe 3 other bids. So it's scheduling teams from outside your conference. We've got our name out there. Virginia Wesleyan won the national championship, and of course now I think ODAC is probably as good as any team, any tournament team in the nation. So it's hopefully you can say the Roanoke's and the Lynchburgs and Bridgewater have laid the groundwork, and now it's the strongest conference in softball, I think.
Is the count 2-0-1. Cox back to the rubber for the Eagles. Row 1 pitch on the way. Grounder up the middle. Base hit up the middle. 4 holes box to lead things off in the 5th. Just got over top of the diving glove of Fridley out in the outfield, and that puts a runner on first base for CNU and brings to the plate number 25, the first baseman, Sabrina Hill. 2-2 pitch. Grounded back to Anderson. Scoops it off 2 hops over to Shiflett at first. That will retire Pope and retire the side for the Captains. In the 5th, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, 2 left on base. After 4.5 at CNU 2, Bridgewater 0. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. One pitch. Outside. Catches the strike zone and runs the count to 1-2 to Samantha Bird. Lewis. 1-2 delivery. Line shot, right center field, base hit. Right fielder cuts it off, going to hold Bird to a single, but a leadoff single for Samantha Bird to right field, and that brings to the plate number 10, the center fielder, Carrie Burgess. Two-0 pitch. That one's going to miss up high as well, and that works the count 3-0 to Jen Balcom. Said Jen had a nice at bat during her first plate appearance, and now works a 3-0 count here early against Lewis. The 3-0. Inside, it's going to be called strike. Runs the count to 3-1. Yeah, Balcom backed off, but had to expect that was going to be called a strike. As we said here just a few minutes ago, it has been all day. Lewis. 3-1 pitch on the way. Balcom fights off an inside pitch and stings it out to left field for a single. So a 1-out single for Jen Balcom puts runners at first and second for the Eagles and brings to the plate to number 2, the second baseman, Casey Anderson. Anderson ground out at the pitcher and the third baseman during her only plate appearances today. Lewis, 1-0 pitch. Bunt shown by Anderson. Third baseman plays in. It's going to be a fielder's choice for Anderson. So fielder's choice. And it's going to be a 5-6 put out of Bird. Balcom goes to second. Bird put out 5-6. Put 2 away for Bridgewater here in the 5th, and that brings to plate number 1, the left fielder, Lauren Jenkins. 3-4 to end the 3rd. Pitch on the way. High fly ball out of play, first base side. Brings the Balcom. Eagles trail CNU 2-0 in the bottom of the 5th with 2 away. Lewis, 0-1. Grounded back through the right side. Second baseman shades over underneath it. Makes the play. Flips it to first base in time for the final out of the inning. No runs, 2 hits, no errors. 2 left on base for the Eagles in the 5th. After 5 complete, it's CNU 2, Bridgewater 0. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. Top of the 6th inning. Due up for the Captains. The 9-1-2 hitters Jones, Shiflett, and Zoller. CNU leads Bridgewater 2-0 after 5 complete. Jones steps to the plate. On the day, she is 1 for 2. She's reached on a fielder's choice in the 2nd and had a single in the 4th. First pitch called a strike to Jones, and that brings the count to 0-1. Cox rolls the ball in the right hand, the long look in, 0-1 pitch on the way. Upstairs, it'll miss for a ball. And that's going to even the count 1-1 to the batter, Megan Jones. On deck circle, top of the lineup, Rachel Shiflett for the Captains. Had to look there to see where Rachel was from. Of course, Shiflett, a name known locally here in the Valley. Grounder back to Fridley, up with it over first base in time. 6-3 on the putout of Jones for the first out of the sixth. And that brings to the plate, as we said, the top of the lineup, number 24, the left fielder, Rachel Shiflett. Over 3 on the day with 3 strikeouts. CNU leads Bridgewater 2-0 as we play in the top of the sixth. Bree Cox, pitch on the way. Shiflett pops it up, fouled on the third base line. It's the best contact Shiflett's made today. Well, just a strike brings the count to 0-1. Thank you folks at home out there for tuning in today to some Bridgewater softball action on the webcast via the web and on our web streaming portal, Boxcast. Cox, her 0-1 pitch on the way. Bunt shown, pops her up, Cox underneath it. That will retire Shiflett. P1 on the bunt, 2 away for the Captains in the sixth, and that brings to the plate number 4, the shortstop, Candace Zollers. Zollers on the game. She is 1 for 2. She singled in the first, grounded out the first baseman in the second, and was hit by a pitch in the fourth. Cox settling down here over the latter innings after allowing a single run in the second and the third. Pitch inside to Zollers. Got a walker. Cox hits Zollers again. It's a 6th walk surrender today by Cox. That's one thing that has plagued her lately, is too many free bases. That brings to the plate number 9, the right fielder, Christina McLaughlin. McLaughlin steps in. She's 1 for 2 today. She walked in the first, singled and scored a run in the third, and then grounded out to the second baseman in the fourth. McLaughlin steps in there with a first pitch that missed for a ball and brings the count to 1-0. Cox, that was her 100th pitch. Number 101 on the way. I think maybe another illegal pitch there from Cox. What to see. Yep, illegal pitch there from Bree. Charges the ball. Zollers heads over to second base, and McLaughlin steps in. That's going to bring Coach Falk out of the dugout to have a little chat there with the home plate umpire. He's not real sure that was an illegal pitch from Cox. I think he looked at it and said, what was illegal about it? And I think they're going to look and say that she may have left the lane, but how in the world can you even tell in this sport? The lane's painted onto the dirt, and then the lane expires, and it disappears after an inning of play. Yeah, it's one of the goofiest things that you see in softball is that pitching shoot coming off of the rubber. That every pitcher basically scrubs it off the circle after an inning or two of play. So you're not real sure, really, after that happens as to whether it's actually an illegal pitch or not. It's really very subjective on where her foot lands. I think it was something they had some issues with last year with Cox, with a little bit of maybe some width on her leg as she comes out, and maybe she's leaving the rubber a little bit early on, and they're showing where she's now showing them where she plants her foot, and if that is where she plants her foot, it's clearly an illegal pitch. It's way wide of the mark, so Coach Falk's going to have a chat with Bree and just remind her, hey, make sure that you're staying put there, and start off a little bit over if you need to make sure that you don't give any more free bases to CNU. So this is a 2-0 game. We're right in it here. Just need to get the offense going, and we don't want to put runners in scoring position with any easier than they already have reached. Cox, 2-0 pitch on the way to McLaughlin. Grounder back to Anderson. She shades over to Shiflett at first. In time. That will retire. McLaughlin retires the sign for the Captains. In the sixth, no runs, no hits, no errors, 1 left on base after 5.5 at CNU 2, Bridgewater 0. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. Welcome you back to Bridgewater College. Due up this inning for the Eagles, the 3-4-5 hitters Fridley, Cox, and Throckmorton. After 5.5, CNU leads Bridgewater 2-0. First pitch on the way from Lewis. That's going to miss for a ball and brings the count to 1-0. Fridley on the day, she is 1 for 2. She doubled in the first and popped out to the shortstop back in the fourth. Lewis Pitch on the way to Fridley. Grounder at the middle, base hit. Leadoff single up the middle for Samantha Fridley. Puts a base runner on for Bridgewater here in the bottom part of the 6th. And brings it to plate number 16, the pitcher, Brianna Cox. Cox in the game. She's 1 for 2. She popped out to the shortstop to end the 1st, and she's singled back in the 4th. That's going to bring Coach Parr out of the dugout. Wants to have a conversation here with Lewis, I believe, and she might make a pitching change. Lewis comes out, hands on the ball, and there will be a pitching change. We'll get it to you here in a second. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com. Cox steps back into the batter's box, and Jenkins to the rubber. And we're ready to get back underway. First pitch from Jenkins. A miss for a ball. Brings the count to 1-0. Jenkins, 1-0 pitch. Finds a mark low for a strike, and that runs the count even 1-1 to the batter, Bree Cox. Jenkins, 1-1 pitch. Fouled back into the backstop. Works the count to 1-2. Jenkins. Been a lot of Jenkins around here lately. Heather Jenkins, of course, for Bridgewater last 4 years. Lauren Jenkins now Michaela Jenkins for CNU. The 1-2. Grounded over to the second baseman. Up. She throws it to second for the force out. And that's a 4-6 put out of Fridley, a fielder's choice for Cox. Puts one down for the Eagles. Wise move there by the second baseman to get the force out at second to get the lead runner. And that brings it to plate number 5, the right fielder, Brooke Throckmorton. Throckmorton in the contest. She's 0 for 2. She flew out twice to right field. So 1 away for the Eagles in the 6th. As he said, it's a good defensive decision there by the second baseman. Pops her up. Catcher trying to get back to it. Can't make it in time. Foul ball for Throckmorton. That's going to bring the count to 0-1. Fans, as a reminder, between games, just stay with us. Just keep your screen on. We'll be back with the second game approximately 25 minutes after the conclusion of the first. A little bit of an early start here today at the BC softball field. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast. I think Coach Falk and Coach Parr wanted to make sure they got both games in. The 0-1 called strike brings the count to 0-2. I know Coach Parr, they've been on a little bit of a road swing, and then basically just dropping back down into Harrisonburg in the Bridgewater area this afternoon before they head back to the beach. The 0-2. That'll miss outside for a ball, trying to get Throckmorton to chase, and brings the count to 1-2. Jenkins to the rubber. 1-2 pitch on the way upstairs. Backs Throckmorton off the plate. Evens the count 2-2. The captains, they were at York on Monday. They were at York on Tuesday. Penn State Harrisburg yesterday. And then they were there at Bridgewater today. They were 8-1, 4-1 winners at York and 10-0, 8-0 victors over Penn State Harrisburg. Grounder back to first base. It's going to be a single for Throckmorton. There's a hot liner over at first base side. That's going to be a single for Throckmorton. Still runners at first and second. 1 away for the Eagles. Bridgewater looking to possibly tie this contest up in the bottom part of the 6th. Pitch on the way. Finds a mark for a strike to Harris. Haley on the day. 0 for 2. She flew out in foul territory to third base in the second and flew out to center field in the 4th. The 0-1. Line shot. Coach Falk swats that one down with the hand. Foul ball. Brings the count to 0-2. Looks like we play in the top of the 3rd over at the baseball field. Still no score. Bridgewater and Mary Washington. That game also available on Boxcast if you are trying to keep up with both teams today. The 0-2. Foul back into the netting. Keep the count 0-2 to the batter, Haley Harris. And the on-deck circle for the Eagles, should we get there, is Samantha Bird. Jenkins, 0-2 pitch. It's down low for a ball. Works the count to 1-2. A lot of velocity on these pitches from Jenkins. Her fastball's got a lot of heat on it, and it could be difficult for the Eagles to catch up on, or at least to pick up on off the hand. The 1-2. Called third strike. That will retire Harris. 2 away for the Eagles in the 6th, and that brings it to plate number 13, the catcher, Samantha Bird. Bird on the day. She's 1 for 2. She struck out swinging in the 2nd and singled back in the 5th, and the Eagles could definitely use one of those singles right here. First pitch to Bird. Misses upstairs for a ball. Works the count to 1-0. Single would clearly probably score Keach from second base and cut this deficit in half. CNU leads Bridgewater 2-0 as we play in the bottom of the 6th. Jenkins 1-0. Upstairs. Same location but called a strike this time. Evens the count 1-1. The 1-1. Misses a little bit low and outside for a ball. That works the count to 2-1. Jenkins picks up the sign 2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 2, evens the count up 2-2. 2 away, runners at first is Throckmorton. Runner at second base is Keach. They'll be going on contact. Jenkins, 2-2 delivery. Foul back into the backstop. Keep the count 2-2. Jenkins tosses the ball from the left into the right glove. Heads back to the rubber. Improves the 2-2 pitch. Upstairs trying to get Bird to chase. She doesn't. Lays off. That works the count full 3-2. Payoff pitch. Walks her. Good eye there from Samantha Bird on a dangerous 3-2 pitch to walk the bases loaded with 2 away. And that brings it to plate. Number 10, the center fielder, Carrie Burgess. Burgess steps in. On the day, she's 1 for 2. She doubled in the 3rd, struck out swinging in the 5th. Pitch inside on Burgess. Brushes her off the plate for a ball and runs the count to 1-0. Jenkins has to watch herself. 22 pitches, 13 of them in strikes, but she technically doesn't have anywhere to put Burgess without giving up a run. She definitely doesn't have anywhere to put Burgess without giving up a run. The 1-0. Upstairs, out of miss for a ball. Burgess lays off. Brings the count to 2-0. Coach Parr just still hanging out in the dugout, clinging to a 2-0 lead here in the 6th. With the sacks folding 2 away, hoping that his pitcher, Jenkins, can get the final out of the inning. 2-0 pitch. It's going to be called a strike. Works the count to 2-1. I thought he was going to call that a strike. It's 3-0. Wow. I thought for sure that was going to be called a strike. 3-0 pitch. That's called a strike. It brings the count to 3-1. It's like the strike zone's moving here in the 6th inning after it was fairly consistent over the really through the first 5.5. Jenkins, 3-1 pitch. Walks her. Walks a run home for the Eagles, and Bridgewater on the scoreboard. Give an RBI to Samantha Bird, and it's a 2-1 ball game, the bottom part of the 6th inning. And that brings the plate number 3rd baseman Jen Balcom. Balcom steps in. She's 1 for 2 today. She struck out looking in the 3rd and had a single back in the 5th. No better time to get a single here if you're Balcom, with runners on every bag. Have an opportunity here to take the lead with a hit to the outfield. Jenkins, pitch on the way. Inside on Balcom. Brushes her off the plate and brings the count to 1-0. Jenkins going to have to settle in here. She's thrown 5 of the last 6 pitches were balls. Michaela picks up the sign from Lewis. That pitch called a strike and brings the count even 1-1. Balcom in a big situation here for the Eagles. They can take the lead. All they've got to do is go out and shut down the captains in the top of the 7th to knock off the 15th ranked team in the nation. The 1-1. Not sure where that missed. But still, 2-1 is the count in favor of Jen Balcom. Runner at third, Throckmorton. Runner at second is Bird. Runner at first is Burgess. 2 away in the 6th. The Eagles have trimmed the deficit to 2-1. 2-1 pitch. Grounder back to Jenkins. Slow roller. Second baseman up with it. Force at second. Not in time. Fielder's choice RBI. And Bridgewater has tied this ball game up. 2-2 in the bottom part of the 6th, and that brings to the plate the second baseman, Casey Anderson. Bridgewater finding life in the 6th. And that's going to bring the infield in. It really was probably the only play the second baseman had. It was a real slow roller. Jenkins couldn't get to it, and second baseman had to range way over and flipped it over the shortstop, and it wasn't there for the force out, and he's going to have to score out on a fielder's choice RBI for Balcom, and ties it up 2-2. So Bridgewater getting things going here in the 6th. And this is no one up in the bullpen for the captains. Jenkins going to have to finish this one. Have to get herself out of a major jam in the 6th. Anderson steps to the plate. She's 0 for 3 today. She grounded out to the pitcher in the 1st, grounded out to the third baseman in the 3rd, and reached on a fielder's choice in the 5th. Pitch on the way. Casey takes a hard hack and a pitch way outside and brings the count to 0-1. A 1 pitch. Pops her up foul over top of the press box. Runs the count to 0-2. Jenkins back to the rubber, in control with an 0-2 count against Anderson. 0-2. Casey lays off this time. Pitch misses outside for a ball. Runs the count to 1-2. Runner at third, Bird. Runner at second, Burgess. Runner at first is Balcom. The Eagles have tied it up 2-2 in the 6th. Big opportunity here for Casey Anderson to put her Eagles out ahead. The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Will retire Anderson. And retires the side for the Eagles in the 6th. 2 runs off 2 hits, no errors. They leave the bases loaded. We head to the top of the 7th. Score's tied 2-2. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. Welcome back to Bridgewater College. Top of the 7th inning. Due up for the captains. The 4, 5, 6 hitters, Holzbach, Hill, and Lewis. Bridgewater ties things up with 2 runs in the 6th, and it's 2-2 in the 7th inning. Pitch outside from Cox, who re-entered in the circle. Missed for a ball, brings the count to 1-0. Cox takes time here, reaches down, ties the right shoe. Hops up, approves the 1-0 on the way. Misses a little bit high for a ball, brings the count to 2-0. Eagles on the board over to BC Baseball Field in the 3rd. They lead Mary Washington by a 1-0 score, despite 2 errors in the field. 2-0 pitch on the way. High pop up in the infield. Anderson in. She's underneath it. Ranges over, makes the play for the first out of the 7th, and that brings to the plate number 25, the first baseman, Sabrina Hill. Hill steps in on the day. She is 0 for 3. She reached on the fielder's choice in the 1st. She flew out to the in foul territory down the first base line in the third, and she flew out in foul territory down the left field line in the fifth. First pitch from Cox to Hill, misses upstairs for a ball, brings the count to 1-0. Pitch. Inside jams her. She fouls it off. Does Hill out of play, third base side. That evens the count 1-1. We play with one out in the top of the seventh and a 2-2 tie. Hill with a 1-1 count. Pitch on the way from Cox. Inside, Hill backs off the plate. That works the count to 2-1. This would be a big, big win for the Eagles. Should they find a way to pull it off against CNU, it's be a victory over a nationally ranked team for head coach Donnie Falk's young squad. 2-1 pitch. High fly ball left center field. It gets down, and it's going to be a single to left center field from the bat of Sabrina Hill. Her first hit of the day, and that brings it to plate number 22, the catcher, Kelsey Lewis. Lewis steps in, and on the day she is 1 for 2. She walked and scored a run in the second. She doubled and drove a run in the third, and struck out swinging in the fifth. Cox rolls the ball in the right hand. 110th pitch on the way to Lewis. Line shot over top of Balcom plate at second base in time. Fielder's choice. 6-4 on the put out of Hill at second. It's a two-way now for the Captains in the seventh, and that brings it to plate number 17, the second baseman, Tori Clark. Let's see what we do over here. I think maybe Coach Parr wants to bring in a pinch runner for the Captains over at first base for Lewis. He will. Trying to get a number on that. I think it's maybe 22. Maybe just simply 2. I think it's just simply 2. That would be Hannah Marshall. Finch running at first base for CNU here in the seventh. Marshall steps in. For CNU, 2 away, pinch running at first base. Cox wants to get herself out of this inning and give the offense an opportunity to take home the win. It would be the 2, 3, 4 hitters due up for the Eagles in the bottom part of the inning. We'll see them either way, whether CNU scores a run, of course, but first pitch misses for a ball and brings the count to 1-0. Pitch from Cox. Outside, misses for a ball. Runs the count to 2-0. Delivery. Grounder up the middle, over ranges does Fridley, throws it to first base in time for the out, and that'll retire the side for the Captains in the seventh. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left on base. After 6.5, score's tied 2-2. Bridgewater with an opportunity to win it in the seventh. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com. Jenkins, 2-2 pitch. Cox stings at the left center field. Center fielder over. She's going to drift in. It's going to be a single to left center field for Bree Cox with 2 away. So big base hit there to keep the inning alive for the Eagles, and that brings to plate number 5, the right fielder, Brooke Throckmorton. Throckmorton steps in. She's 1 for 3 in the day. She flew out twice to right field and then singled and scored a run last inning. It's a big situation here for Brooke to have an opportunity to possibly put the Eagles out in front and take home the Game 1 win. Jenkins, time called by Throckmorton. Pitch on the way. That finds a mark for a strike. Puts Throckmorton behind in the count early, 0-1. And the Captains have stranded 11 base runners through their 7 innings at the plate, and Bridgewater has stranded 8 thus far. Hopefully they don't strand any more, and they push Cox home for the win. The 0-1. Throckmorton lays off an off-speed pitch that found the mark in the upper part of the zone for a strike and brings the count to 0-2. That pitch was chest high. Brooke, unless they were going to call a swing and a miss, which I don't think they did. Not sure how that possibly happened. Nonetheless, 0-2 pitch. Called third strike. Will retire. Throckmorton retires. The Eagles were heading to extra innings. For the Eagles in the 7th, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 left on base. After 7 complete, the game's tied 2-2. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. Welcome you back to the Bridgewater softball field. Top of the 8th inning, CNU. Runner placed at second base is Tori Clark. Leading off the inning for the Captains is Alexis Pope. Pope on the day. She is 0-2. Flew out to left field in the 2nd. Walked in the 4th. Grounded out to the second baseman in the 5th. Expected bunt here immediately from Pope. Pitch called a strike to Pope. Runs the count to 0-1. You got to believe that Coach Parton, that signal that I've seen him give is bunt the ball. Maybe the Captains, maybe that's not really their style. Maybe they prefer just to go ahead and swing away to try and get multiple runs in the extra frame. The 0-1 from Cox. Upstairs misses for a ball, brings the count to 0-1. After Bree here, you definitely have to watch yourself. It looks like the bunt's not on, so go ahead and pitch to Pope. You've gotten her out so far today, you definitely just don't want to walk her here. You don't want to put runners at first and second because then that's definitely a sacrifice situation for the Captains to try and put 2 on the board. Cox. 1-1 pitch. Line shot left field side out of play. Brings the count to 1-2. Good contact there from Pope. On the 1-1 pitch from Cox. Pope back in the batter's box and Cox back on the rubber. 1-2 count in her favor. Pitch on the way. Outside, try to get Pope to chase. She nearly did, but lays off, and that's going to even the count 2-2. Cox. 2-2 delivery. Inside. Called third strike. Pope turned and looked at the home plate umpire like, you've got to be kidding me. A big strike out there from Cox. Retires Pope and brings it to the plate Megan Jones. Pinch hitting for the Captains in the 8th. Number 11, Taylor Dillow. New batter going to step in for CNU here. It's going to be Taylor Dillow. Coming in a pinch hitting role for Jones at the bottom of the lineup. Pull the stats here on Dillow. On the season, she's a .255 hitter. 14 hits, 1 double. She has 2 home runs on the season. Cox. Pitch on the way to Dillow. Called strike, about waist high, a little bit above. Works the count to 0-1. If Cox can get herself out of this inning without allowing a run, you've got to believe Bridgewater should be able to take the win in the bottom part of the 8th. She still has 2 outs to record, though, so let's not jump to any conclusions. The 0-1. Outside going to miss for a ball. Evens the count 1-1. Still a little bit shocked to see Coach Parr not lay the bunt down to lead off batter. It's pretty traditional in softball with that runner heading to second base in extra innings. The 1-1 pitch. Just missed in the outside part of the plate for a ball. And runs the count to 2-1. After 3 complete, actually now in the bottom part of the 4th, the Eagles lead Mary Washington by 4-0 score over at the BC baseball field. Trying to keep up with both of those contests today. Game also available on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. Click the video link on the baseball schedule. Time called there by Dillo. As she took Cox a little bit long, and she didn't like what she saw, so she stepped out, took a couple practice cuts, and she'll head back in with a 2-1 count in her favor. Cox rolls the ball in that right hand, and 2-1 pitch on the way. Grounded back to Fridley. Over to first. In time, that will retire Dillo. 6-3 in the put out. Put 2 down for the Captains here in the 8th. And that brings it to the point that going to be a new hitter here for the Captains, number 28. That will be Jenna Sprinkle. Pinch hitting for Rachel Shiflett. Sprinkle steps in, 2 outs in the 8th. If Cox can retire Sprinkle, the Eagles will have a big opportunity in the bottom part of the 8th inning. As I know Coach Falk will clearly come out and bunt that runner from second over to third. Then a fly ball to the outfield should score the runner from third and send the Eagles to a victory. But, of course, that's all prognostication at this point. Cox, pitch to Sprinkle. Called a strike. Works the count to 0-1. That was the 123rd pitch of the game for Bree Cox. Oh-1 delivery. Skips in there for a ball, and that'll even the count 1-1. Bree heads back to the rubber. Picks up her sign from Bird. 1-1 delivery. Grounder back. Slow roller to Cox. She's up with it. Over to first base. In time, that will retire Sprinkle and retires aside for the Captains in the 8th. No runs, no hits, no errors. 1 left on base after 7.5. It's 2-2. Bridgewater and CNU. We'll be right back. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast. Welcome you back to Bridgewater College. Haley Lloyd's the runner at second base for the Eagles. That's gonna be a passed ball, and Lloyd's at third base. What a big play by Haley Lloyd to make it to third base on the passed ball. It was
a good ball game. Just a typical game that we would have against CNU. Came down to the 8th inning. We got them out in the top of the 8th. You know, in softball, you put a runner on second. Tough to keep them from scoring, but we did. That really gave the advantage to us. You know, we got a runner on second, no outs, and then Haley Harris came through.
Right field from the bat of Haley Harris should score Haley Lloyd here. You can see Coach Park talking to his outfield here and just making sure they're all heads up out there. They're definitely playing way in. They know anything over their heads is going to end the game anyway, so they got to play way in and thwart off the sacrifice fly here from Lloyd. The 1-1 outside, going to miss for a ball. Runs the count to 2-1. Jenkins looks around, proves a 2-1. Grounder back foul, third base side. That'll even the count 2-2. Harris back in the batter's box, and Jenkins back to the rubber. 2-2 delivery. Down in the dirt, good block up there by Lewis behind the plate. And that's going to run the count full 3-2. You got to be curious here. You're not sure. Does Coach Park consider now walking the bases loaded? Knowing that a sac fly is going to end this thing. Do you walk the bases loaded to try and get a sure out and stay away from the batters? Don't give them anything to hit. Jenkins, payoff pitch. High fly ball left field. That'll end it. Ball game. 2-run home run from Haley Harris and Bridgewater. Victorious over top of CNU in the opener by a 4-2 tally. Big victory for head coach Donnie Falk and his team. We'll be back with final stats in a moment. You're watching Bridgewater College Softball on BridgewaterEagles.com via Boxcast.